Hello, this is Deadline Day. We're already an hour into our coverage. Where have you been if you haven't been watching? There's already been quite a lot happening. Good morning to those of you watching live right now on Sky Sports News, and a very good morning to you if you're watching on Sky Sports Premier League YouTube stream.
Yes, morning to everybody. Morning to you, Jess, as well. And listen, could we see one of the biggest deals of the window happen today? Victor Osimhen has a big decision to make. Will he head to Chelsea or the Saudi Pro League?
There's not a huge amount of time to get that deal sorted, really. A reminder then that it's an 11 o'clock deadline here in England.
Yeah, and we want you guys to get involved this hour too. We are after your Deadline Day memories. We've seen some crackers over the years, haven't we? Get involved. Your favourite Deadline Day moment. Use the hashtag #SkyDeadlineDay.
And the team have so much to discuss and debate as we count down to the deadline. Raheem Sterling faces the prospect of playing no football if he can't get a move out of Chelsea. Well, have Juventus pulled out of the race to sign Jadon Sancho? And will Ivan Toney stay at Brentford?
Well, another transfer window, another chance to talk about Chelsea spending obscene amounts of money, loads and loads of money again. They've been the talk of the town in this transfer window as well, lead the way in terms of spending. Shall we head there?
Yeah, I think we probably shouldn't we? Yeah, because this could be a big one today, Jess. Yeah, so one of the biggest deals of the day could be happening here at Chelsea. Gail Davis is there for us at Stamford Bridge. Gail, what are you hearing?
Yeah, very good morning to you. It's the sort of thing you want to wake up to on deadline day, isn't it? The prospect of Victor Osimhen possibly playing in the Premier League. Look, we know Chelsea have been looking for a striker, and a sort of message from Kaveh Solikol, the man that never ever sleeps, late last night into the morning, suggests from Chelsea that it may well be edging closer. And the reason is that all summer Osimhen has talked about the fact that he wants a permanent deal. But what emerged last night is that Chelsea could buy him, could loan him with an obligation to buy. And it's all in the wording, isn't it? Effectively, that is a permanent deal. It just means that the finances don't have to be necessarily in order right at this time. Remember, Osimhen signed a new contract last year with this absolutely gigantic release clause of 130 million euros. His wage bill is significant. He, like the likes of João Felix, have to take a pay cut to sign here, but he's waiting, isn't he, Osimhen, till the very last minute just to see if a deal can be struck, because we know there is a hugely lucrative offer on the table from Ahli in Saudi Arabia, but their window doesn't shut Monday 11:59, and his agent stated last week that he has got unfinished business in Europe. What a coup, what a signing for the Premier League if it can happen on deadline day.
Well, we know Chelsea have some big names not in Enzo Maresca's plans. So who could we see coming out of the club, Gail?
Yeah, so I did a quick tally of the official first-team players on their website, and it hits 33. Remember, in the Premier League, you're only allowed 25 players. And Enzo Maresca has made no secret of the players that he sees taking the club forward. That press conference on Wednesday night ahead of their game in Europe against Servette was pretty brutal if you're the likes of Raheem Sterling. He said if he doesn't get a move in this window, he will play no minutes going forward. Now, this is a 29-year-old player. He's still got 3 years left on his Chelsea contract, and he's desperate to regain a place in the England squad. Clearly surplus to requirements at Chelsea. Chelsea have been talking to other clubs who possibly could take him. Sterling and his representative have stayed away from that. They will put that to Sterling. It has to be a move for him that makes sense. So the sort of clubs that have been talked about, the likes of Aston Villa, likes of Chelsea, Crystal Palace. And of course, that swap deal with Manchester United, eyebrows were raised, weren't they, a couple of days ago? But it's a deal potentially that makes sense for both clubs. You've got two players who aren't playing for their respective managers, and maybe if you switch them, they'll get some game time. We've seen a lot of players leave. You mentioned the numbers that they've spent, but 13, 14 out permanently, 10 or so out on loan. And the ones that are left, I think today we'll keep eyes, won't we, on Ben Chilwell, and he signed a new contract in April. That takes him to 2027. Big wages might be a problem for him, but he's clearly not in Maresca's thoughts. And Trevor Chalobah is another that we've heard reports that he could end up elsewhere. They're part of the squad that are training by themselves, so definitely ones to watch, and maybe players that could be used to leverage other deals throughout the day. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Gail, thank you very much. We have to come away from you, though, because we have some breaking news, which is regarding exactly what we've just been talking about. Our colleagues in Italy, Gianluca Di Marzio, breaking the news that Victor Osimhen is, in fact, heading to Saudi Arabia. Ahli is the side that Gianluca is saying Victor Osimhen is signing for. Parties working on the final details of a 4-year deal. And Napoli expected to earn 80 million euros plus add-ons. Goodness me. Well, Jess, it looks like we were just saying could be Chelsea. Let's go to the team. What do you think of this, Olivia?
I mean, I'm going to throw it straight to Kwaku and think, Kwaku, you were sat there. You and Flex were talking. Flex is cheering when this news comes through. Flex, why are you cheering?
Well, I don't know. There was a lot of certainty around the table, a lot of certainty from some individuals on a personal level, and, you know, securing top 4 with this signing. I'm interested to see now. How do you feel, Kwaku?
Of course, you can't question the players' motivations, and 80 million euros is 80 million euros. That's how much you could potentially earn going to Saudi Arabia. As somebody follows Chelsea, I would love to see him in the Premier League. I think we all would love to see him in the Premier League because for the last 3 or 4 seasons, he's been one of the best strikers in Europe. But he's made his choice, apparently, and looks like he's going to Saudi Arabia, and it means that Chelsea's search for a striker continues. Obviously, we've seen links with other players, but Victor Osimhen is a player that is proven, one of those rare proven commodities at this level, and now Chelsea have got to set their sights elsewhere.
I think this is huge, though.
Because how Ivan Toney's ears have suddenly...
Red alert now, surely.
Yeah, I mean...
Do you think Chelsea now, because Osimhen's made that decision, do you think Ivan Toney now will go to Chelsea?
Chelsea want a striker. We know that, don't we? We know they want a number 9 in this window, and if Toney was the backup plan to Osimhen, I suspect we may see some movement with that. John Duran as well, wouldn't rule that out. Nothing would surprise me with John Duran and Chelsea at the moment.
Do you think Ivan Toney will care about now knowing that he's probably second fiddle to Victor Osimhen?
I think it's how football works, isn't it? I mean, there's lists. Clubs have lists of plan A, plan B. It doesn't mean that Ivan Toney's worse than Osimhen or won't fit in as well. I actually think Toney would do better in the Premier League for Chelsea.
He'd do a great job there, I think, in that system. And for Ivan Toney, as it stands, his options are very limited. Ironically, the only deal kind of on the table is Saudi Arabia, which we've heard. So it'll be really interesting to see how the movement of this, which is what's fascinating about deadline day, is anything can happen at any moment. And this is the first sign of that right at the beginning of the day.
I thought you were signing for Chelsea today, to be honest with your jacket.
Yeah, he's come in Chelsea colours, hasn't he?
I come to jinx it.
Yeah, let's just recap for you that news. Sky in Italy, Gianluca Di Marzio with the story. Victor Osimhen is going to Ahli. Parties are working on final details. It's a 4-year deal. Napoli expected to earn £80 million plus add-ons. So Victor Osimhen is not heading to the Premier League. He is heading to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, fancy that. OK,
Yeah,
big news, isn't it?
Yeah, club rivalries aside, you'd love to see him in the Premier League, but we've got to move on. Let's head across London now. We'll go to the Emirates Stadium. There was developing news overnight as Arsenal look to strengthen. Let's check in.
Goalkeeper.
Oh, they have made a signing. We knew they were looking for a goalkeeper. It looks like it's Gary Cottrell.
Yeah, lots of talk there, of course, about strikers. But here today, at the moment at Arsenal, it's all about keepers. One out to the South Coast. And it looks like one potentially in to the South Coast. Neto coming on loan without any obligation for a year to replace Aaron Ramsdale, who's on his way, as we know, to Southampton. Talks are going nicely, we're told. There's nothing finalised yet. Neto coming to have his medical in London at some point today, so that deal probably is going to get done. he's not going to get minutes, is he, at Bournemouth? He has been involved in the Premier League so far, but the arrival of Kepa at Bournemouth means that Neto will be coming to Arsenal potentially. Of course, he won't be number one at Arsenal, that's David Raya. But of course, with all the football that Arsenal have to play in all the competitions, probably get more minutes than he will do at Bournemouth. So that's the thinking behind that. We're told that that deal is a very, very, very good chance of happening.
Well, Gary, I love that opening, by the way. Look, the big question Arsenal fans are tweeting us at the moment is about a forward. Any chance of it?
I think, you probably were asking me about any forwards like to come in at Arsenal. I've lost your question. It's all that goalkeeping I've been doing. But, things can be desperate, can't they, on deadline day? And we know that Chelsea are desperate to get rid of Raheem Sterling. That's been made very clear. And Arsenal, they're not desperate, but they're looking for, if they can, a dynamic forward player, a wide player, just to help the players in that area of the pitch here at the Emirates, particularly Saka. And so if they can do a deal for a player like that, then they will today. Raheem Sterling, of course, would be a difficult deal to do because of his wages. They would have to be cut probably by 50% if he came to Arsenal. Also, he'd have to talk his way out of his contract or part of his contract at Chelsea. But we know that Mikel Arteta likes him because he said so, and of course he knows him from Manchester City as well. So wouldn't that be an amazing turn up for the books on deadline day? They are, as I say, looking in that area. Kingsley Coman at Bayern Munich is another option. Bayern Munich keen to get his wages off their books.
Gary, fantastic. Thank you.
Right, if you're just joining us, huge news this morning. Sky Italy's Gianluca Di Marzio has broken the news that Victor Osimhen is going to Ahli. Parties are working on final details. It's a 4-year deal. Napoli are expected to earn €80 million plus add-ons. Now, Sky in Italy are also reporting that Napoli are hoping to resurrect a deal for Brighton's Billy Gilmour today, so we'll keep you up to date with all the latest on developments on that one. Well, Manchester United must be feeling pretty pleased with themselves. They've secured additions in all of the areas they wanted to. We're currently waiting for announcements on Manuel Ugarte joining and, of course, Scott McTominay leaving. Flex, you must be pretty pleased with how your team's done this transfer window.
I think it's been a really good window, the first of Ineos's reign. I think they had a big challenge on their hands in terms of making sure Manchester United were viewed differently in the market by other clubs and getting in targets with a different profile, younger age profile. Pretty much, I mean, Lenny Yoro with the exception with a couple of million, but below the £50 million.
That's cheap.
That would be very cheap. £50 million price tag, which is a significant pivot from what Manchester United have been doing in recent windows. And they have absolutely backed Erik ten Hag after, a little bit of to-ing and fro-ing with whether he was going to stay and be the manager. Then there was a little bit of reporting of how much are they going to support him. Well, here's your answer. 5 signings through the door. And really some ones for the future, some ones for now. And I think it's been a really positive window, and the pressure's on now. Erik ten Hag and his team has to deliver.
Do you remember when we were sat here 12 months ago and Flex was feeling very smug after the transfer window?
What happened there,
Even
Flex?
more smug now.
No, but I will say, I said that Manchester United had a good window last summer as well, in fairness, but they've bought... I feel like they've upgraded in the positions that they've bought players into. Wan-Bissaka's gone out and Mazraoui has come in. I would say that's an upgrade. Varane de Ligt, again, I would say that's probably... an upgrade. Xerxes replaced Martial. Upgrade. Xerxes more durable, certainly. So, pretty much in the areas that Manchester United have signed players. Ugarte for Scott McTominay as well. I would say maybe they're players that are more suited to what Manchester United want going forward and maybe better fits. So, if you look at it in that way, you can't really argue that it hasn't been a good window for Manchester United.
I mean, you mentioned Ugarte there, a replacement for Scott McTominay. This is the midfielder Man United wanted, Kwaku, and it's the midfielder they've got.
Yeah, I think it's the midfielder that they wanted. Whether it's the midfielder they needed, it remains to be seen. I think Manchester United's biggest issues have been controlling games. I think in the first half against Brighton, we saw the semblance of what Erik ten Hag wants to do with Manchester United in terms of his tactical philosophy, counter-pressing, change the point of attack very quickly, turning over possession high up in the pitch. I think bringing in Ugarte does that for them. Whether that can take them to the biggest trophies in the land remains to be seen, because we live in the Pep Guardiola world where they suffocate teams with 50, 60, 70% possession. That's not what Manchester United are going to do. They're going to have to take their chances, they're going to have to win the ball, be aggressive, and I feel like bringing in Ugarte does that, but they've added more fire to an already fiery midfield.
Quakey, I have to interrupt you because we have got some more breaking news. Pete and Jess, what have you got for us?
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Yeah, breaking news reaching us all the time. This one's come from our reporter, Dharma Sheth. Nottingham Forest, we're told, exploring the conditions of a deal to sign James Ward-Prowse from West Ham. West Ham, of course, signed James Ward-Prowse from Southampton, England international. We're told that West Ham are not actively looking to let him go, but this is the key. They may be open to offers, and Nottingham Forest is sniffing around James Ward-Prowse.
Same with West Ham. The other piece of breaking news to bring you, that the club have not given up on signing the PSG midfielder Carlos Soler in the final hours. A lot of the details on a potential deal have been agreed. Ideally, though, West Ham would want to create squad space first. So West Ham not giving up on signing PSG midfielder and the Spain international Carlos Soler.
And interestingly, that would be like for like. So Ward-Prowse potentially out, Soler coming in, similar positions. Guys, over to you. What do you think? What's happening at West Ham?
Congratulations, Tim Starton. He's been West Ham's key man this transfer window. He was obviously the architect for Bayer Leverkusen, who built that incredible team. He wasn't there to bear the fruit of that, but of course they won the league in Germany last season. He's come in as the technical director of West Ham, and for my money, they've won the window. And the link to Carlos Soler is huge. This is a West Ham team that managed to lure Jean-Claude Todibo to the club, where he was linked with other top clubs in Europe. I understand the Ward-Prowse move. It hasn't necessarily worked out for him. West Ham gone in a different direction. He was very much a David Moyes player. But in terms of the players that West Ham have been linked with, I'll be very, very impressed. Of course, the season's been a little bit difficult in terms of assimilating all of those new pieces. But I think when they do fit in, they do understand what Lopetegui wants from them, they're going to be cooking, because they're a very, very good side already. They've added some incredible pieces already.
Do you think this would be a good move for the player, James Ward-Prowse to Forest?
Gets to stay in the Premier League. I think that is a good move for him. It hasn't quite worked out in the season that he spent at West Ham. Played an awful lot of games, all but one Premier League game. You know, did quite well. 52 appearances across all competitions. So that's a fantastic return on him going there, but they've quickly moved on to a different dimension. You look at the new manager coming in, the new ideas. So he needs another place to go, and I just think he's a really good Premier League proven player, understands the league like the back of his hand, and can definitely be a good addition. I'm looking at some of the players that are already there at Forest. You know that Gibbs-White wants to get on the ball and be further forward. If you've got Ward-Prowse in behind that as well, and with his assists and his free kick ability and dead ball specialism, that's going to be a big, big plus for Forest and any team that has him. So I do think that's a good move for Ward-Prowse.
Seeing more and more, aren't we, with PSR and squad registration quotas, that players that clubs aren't necessarily desperate to let go. If an opportunity arises and you can get a player in who's a better fit, it seems to be a lot of one-for-one going on. Soler is obviously a player that Lopetegui wants, and we've seen this window that he will be backed and he will get the players he wants. You don't get Lopetegui in at your football club unless you back him, because if you don't back him, there's a chance that he'll walk away. He's a man of principles who believes in what he does. So it's been a really, really interesting window at West Ham. They've got the South American kind of transfer sphere going on there as well. Incredibly busy, and another one through the door wouldn't surprise you at all with the way they've been this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Could James Ward-Prowse be heading out, though, of West Ham? What a 15 minutes here on Sky Sports News. Victor Osimhen to Chelsea is off. Who do they turn to next? Will it be Ivan Toney? There's loads still to come, so stay with us on Deadline Day. Don't forget, we've got Liverpool manager Arne Slot live at 9 a.m.
Welcome back. Now, if you're just joining us, Sky Italy are reporting that Victor Osimhen is heading to Ahli. More detail reaching us just now right here on Sky Sports News. Literally coming into us, and we've got these details saying that the agreements are being finalised. He's set to sign a 4-year contract at around £33.6 million a season. That's over £600,000 a week. And of course, that is tax-free. It would also include a release clause. The club-to-club fee is £67.3 million. Now, we're expecting signatures to be signed on the contract this morning. and the player has decided to go where they wanted him the most. So that is Victor Osimhen declining to move to the Premier League, and Chelsea, who we thought were interested, he's instead heading over to Saudi Arabia to join Ahli, having a medical today. Now, as you'll notice, Pete is away talking on the phone right now as I speak, as I relay this news to you. He's on the phone to managers, to agents, getting this news into us. But that is the massive news, the massive breaking news in terms of transfers this morning. Wow, Victor Osimhen to Ahli. We'll have more details for you throughout the morning. Before that, though, let's head over to the Scottish Premiership, shall we? We can speak to our reporter, Gordon Duncan, who's at Rangers training ground. Great to see you. Good morning. Happy transfer deadline day. We'll talk about Rangers in just a moment, but Celtic first. They sound like they're close to a couple of big deals. What can you tell us?
Yeah, certainly big in the sense that in the case of Arne Engels, they'd be looking at a record transfer fee for Celtic. £11 million deal agreed for the 20-year-old Belgian midfielder from Augsburg. And this week's really been about how will Celtic spend the Matt O'Reilly money. I mean, Celtic had money to spend anyway, but once Matt O'Reilly leaves to Brighton for that big fee, not only does it bring in a lot of money, it also leaves a huge hole in Celtic's midfield. So Arne Engels looks like he will be the man there, due to arrive in Glasgow to finalise that deal. A bit further back in the pitch, there has been talk all window about Celtic needing to bolster in central defence. Austin Trusty, £6 million, Sheffield United for the American defender. Again, that's one that Celtic fans should expect to get over the line by the end of today. In terms of what else, if you're listening to Brendan Rodgers over the last couple of weeks, you might think that he perhaps wanted one or two more than that, so we'll wait and see if he manages to get his wish. Perhaps another midfielder. Celtic have managed to move on a lot of squad players during this window, and as we said, Matt O'Reilly going, Arne Engels coming in. Is there room for one more? We'll wait and see.
And what about Rangers fans then? What can they expect to see? Any more incomings?
Well, Philippe Clement said last weekend he expected a busy window, a busy week, and he expected more to come in than to go out. Now, not a lot of that's happened yet. Ben Davies has gone to Birmingham, so you can understand why Rangers fans are hoping for a busy deadline day. The problem for Rangers, this all window has revolved around getting players out before they can bring players in. So the news on that front is that it does look like Scott Wright's move to Birmingham, a move of round about £300,000. That looks like that'll happen very soon. And similarly, Todd Cantwell, round about the £500,000 mark, agreed with Blackburn now up to the player to try and make that one happen. So if those two can happen, it frees up some wages, frees up some funds for Rangers to try and bring players in the other way. It's been a bit quiet on that front. Nadim Barami, the Albanian midfielder from Sassuolo, is a name that Rangers certainly are interested in. Whether they can get that over the line or not, and some other options out there, just some very, very quiet in terms of names around Rangers at this point in time. But the fans are expecting something to happen because they know that once they move Todd Cantwell and Scott Wright out, then they try and bring other options in.
OK, so that's the update on Rangers and Celtic. What else can we expect in terms of transfer deals in the Scottish Premiership today?
Yeah, I think one other name to keep an eye on is going to be Luke McCowan of Dundee. He's been so impressive. He's a bit of a late bloomer in his career and getting better and better, linked with Bolton earlier in the window. Hibs seem to be one of the main parties interested, so that would be a really fascinating one, going between two sides within the Scottish Premiership. Maybe even Celtic would take a look if they couldn't get that other midfielder in. Motherwell still looking to do one or two more, linked with a return for Blackburn's Jack Vale, who they had on loan last season. And then you wonder what impact last night has. Hearts going out of Europa League qualifying, really unhappy place Tynecastle last night, but then Stephen Naismith, the manager, saying afterwards he maybe doesn't expect today to be busy, but you do wonder if last night's disappointment will spark something there. So it's early on in the day, anything's possible. We're obviously here at Rangers, we'll be on the move, and of course the great thing about this is it's all against the backdrop of a certain fixture on Sunday, because Celtic and Rangers, they want to enhance their squads anyway, but will we see any debuts in that big game? Celtic taking on Rangers on Sunday, and of course you can see all the action live on Sky Sports.
Can indeed. Thanks for the update.
Right, we're going to get more reaction to that huge news that Victor Osimhen is not coming to the Premier League. He is heading to Ahli in Saudi Arabia. I mean, the numbers here, Flex, are just out of this world. £33.6 million a season, or over 600 grand a week.
It's absolutely incredible. Over the time, the whole 4 years, you're looking at north of 160 million. It's absolutely staggering, and it seems as if Chelsea are unable to compete with those sorts of figures. Premier League, not just Premier League teams, all teams across Europe pretty much unable to compete with those types of wages. We have seen PSG sort of do similar numbers-ish when it's been the Messi time and when it's been looking at Mbappe, etc., etc. But these numbers are absolutely staggering. I think that we were just discussing in the break there is still maybe a couple of twists, though, because, it's for Victor Osimhen to choose the final green light. We're still not sure. It's a club-to-club agreement. You never know. Could he maybe say, actually, the legacy's more important for right now in my career? But to turn down that sort of money would just be absolutely unreal.
Pete's on the phone to his own agent trying to get a pay rise.
We can confirm that Victor Osimhen is having a medical today at Al Ahly, so I don't think there's any way that this gets turned around. But he's actually said, he's made the decision based on the team that wanted him the most. Are you not?
Look. If I'm offered that money, I'm probably going myself.
So if Villa offered you what Chelsea were offering, and then Al Ahly offered you...
Oh, no, I'd play for Villa.
That's a different scenario.
Yeah, that is different.
100%. But I get disappointed when there's moves like this. I think for the Saudi League, we should probably look at it from that point of view. This is the biggest signing they've made. They've made some huge signings in terms of names. But to sign a player who's 26, Osimhen, 26 years old, someone who... is at the peak of their powers, been one of the most unbelievable goal scorers in Serie A over the last couple of seasons. For them to get someone like that to agree to go to their league, that's huge for their country. This is the kind of signing that they've wanted to try and propel them. So I think if we look at it from a Saudi point of view, it's massive, but I always just get disappointed when you think a player might be coming to the Premier League, a really big name player at the peak of their powers. It is a little bit disappointing from that perspective. I know Kwaku's obviously very upset.
Very upset.
Great, so sorry, I'm back. I'm back. Yeah.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, sorry. Just lots going on. I tell you what, there's lots going on. Stay with us here on Sky Sports News. A reminder that there are a host of Premier League managers as well speaking to us throughout the day. But I guarantee you lots more transfer news coming as well. We are going to hear from the Liverpool boss on his slot live in less than half an hour, we think.
You can tell me all about that phone call you just had.
In the break.
Okay.
Welcome back. What a morning it has been here on deadline day. What looked to be one of the biggest deals heading to the Premier League looks like it's off, with Victor Osimhen going to Saudi Arabia and Al Ahly. Right, let's get to Liverpool now. They signed Federico Chiesa last night. We are going to be hearing from Arne Slot live at 9 a.m, so looking forward to that. Danny said a couple of days ago when they hadn't signed anyone that you liked their transfer business. So do you like it even more now that Chiesa's signed?
Well, you can laugh at me.
We're just going to like it less because they signed someone.
Yeah.
Disappointed
Rubbish,
to see someone sign. That's not what you want in the transfer window, is it? What I was trying to say the other day, maybe I didn't articulate
No, you did.
it
I know, I
best.
got your point. I did
say
get your
that
point.
I like that Arne Slot's gone in there, which isn't something that all managers do this. He's gone in there and he's took time to evaluate what he's got at his disposal. He's decided that there's not a lot that's actually wrong with that Liverpool squad. He's looked at players there and thought, I can coach them and maybe coach some of them into being something that's slightly different to the football that we saw under Jurgen Klopp. And Liverpool have won their first 2 games and they've kept 2 clean sheets. It's football in a different way. It's a bit more controlled. Liverpool won't be as open or maybe even as exciting as they were under Klopp, but they will definitely win games. I think he's looked at what's there. We know they wanted a number 6. They didn't get him. He's decided to stay where he is. So I like that they haven't panicked and gone to just get someone for the sake of it, which you feel is a little bit what they did maybe 12 months ago with Endo, although Endo did suit what Klopp wanted more so than what Slot wants now. I think them not bringing in a number 6 is brilliant for Gravenberch. I said 12 months ago, I think that's a really, really smart pickup from Liverpool, and maybe we didn't see the best of him last season. But I think now, at the moment, he's probably guaranteed to play. And I think that's what Gravenberch needs. I think he needs a run of games, and he's going to get that run of games in the number 6 position now. Sometimes you don't see the best of someone in the first season when they arrive. I think given time, given games, he'll go on to prove himself as a really, really effective player. For Liverpool, they've added Chiesa to the mix now in attack, gives them a bit more flexibility going forward, someone that can play in different positions. So I just think by not doing very much, and they've sold well as well, by the way, Liverpool have had a really good window.
They have, and the thing about Liverpool, they're always very considered when it comes to transfers. Under Mark Edwards' stewardship in terms of the man directing transfers, they haven't really had too many misses, which is rare for a club of that size. And you can understand their cautious approach to transfers. Of course, last summer they were linked with Moises Caicedo, but this summer they've taken a look at it. Zubimendi is the man that they allegedly wanted. Couldn't get him through the door and haven't rushed to bring somebody in. Let's bear in mind that over the last year or so, Liverpool have brought in 4 midfielders in Gravenberch, in Endo, in McAllister and Szoboszlai. That's a big turnover for an engine room. So I feel like Arne Slot would have come in, looked at this situation, feels like he can work with these players. Like you highlighted, Dan, Gravenberch is a player that I really, really like as well. I think that he's got incredible upside. He needs time to deliver or time to develop. When you look at Fabinho, when he first came to Liverpool, he didn't hit the ground running. It took him a little while to settle, but he became one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. I do think eventually they will improve in that number 6 position because they need to. But it's not panic stations in Liverpool right now. They're clearly one of the top 3 teams in the country. I think the MO for Arne Slot when he came into Liverpool was to continue finishing in the top 4. And I feel like with the squad they've got currently constructed, they'll do that.
Even Bajcetic going to work under Pep Linders, I think that's a smart move from Liverpool. He'll go there and he'll probably play every week, get Champions League experience. If Bobby Clark going there permanently, there'll be an option to get him back. So I just feel, again, as though they haven't done much in terms of incomings. Even the outgoings are done with kind of a long-term plan and vision in mind, and that's what Michael Edwards overseeing things gives you. But Richard Hughes is taking time because he's the man actually doing the transfers. He's taking his time to put his kind of stamp on the squad, and I really like it.
Liverpool obviously were in the title race, I think it's fair to say, for a lot of last season. We always say when you're on top or when you're at the top, to then go and improve, and that's what makes you take a step up. Do you feel like Liverpool have enough with this current squad to make that step up and really maybe challenge Arsenal and City the whole way rather than dropping off just before the end of the season? Or do you think that's not their aim this season? It's just under a new manager to potentially get top 4 like Kwaku says?
I think it's a big ask after, at the end of an era in Klopp and a new manager coming in to go and do that in your first season. Klopp didn't really manage that in his first season. He made them very competitive almost immediately, well, in his first full season anyway, but it took a while to be challenging for the title. I think the top 3 this season is the top 3. I think Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool in whatever order, but I think it's a big ask for Liverpool to run those 2 close, because I think at the moment those 2 I would class as being elite sides. I think Liverpool are just outside that, but it doesn't mean over the next few years they don't step up to that level.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Federico Chiesa was one of 2 Liverpool signings. Could he make his debut against Manchester United? What a game and what a debut that would be at Old Trafford on Super Sunday. You can watch all of the action from 3:30 p.m. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff, all live for you on Sky Sports Premier League.
Loads more to come. Have Newcastle United walked away from their long-running pursuit of Mark Gahey? We'll get the panel's reaction to all of that next. And don't forget Arne Slot live from 9 a.m. And we're also going to hear from Russell Martin after the break as well. Don't go anywhere. Arne Slot is going to be there, the Liverpool boss. We'll hear from him very, very soon.
Now today at 9:30 p.m, so stay tuned for that. We've been speaking about Mark Gahey, Flex, for this whole transfer window. It feels like we're not sure whether or not it's going to happen. How disappointed will Eddie Howe be if they don't get over the line, considering how close they are in valuation to what Palace want?
Yeah, of course. If it doesn't happen, we'd have to wait and see if there was a contingency plan in terms of bringing another centre-back in. But in terms of it not being Mark Gahey, I think with the amount of bids we've seen turned down and the pursuit of Mark Gahey throughout this whole window, I think it's safe to say that Eddie Howe would be really disappointed with that, and so will the Newcastle hierarchy and Newcastle fans. I would imagine it's a player that they've tried to to get his services throughout the window. He's had a fantastic Euros. I think the way he plays fits Eddie Howe's style to a T. He's aggressive. He wants to win 1v1 duels. He wants to engage with his opposite number and win those battles. I think that's how Newcastle want to play, especially through the spine of their team. You look at Joe Linton. He's a high aggression player. You look at someone like Tonali coming back into the side, Bruno Guimaraes. Very, very physical players throughout the spine. So I think that would be a big miss if they don't get him. I'd be surprised as well if they don't get him. It's a big statement from Crystal Palace to sort of say that was our asking price. We're not letting him go on the cheap. But from an Eddie Howe perspective, this is a player he clearly really, really wants. They could have moved on to targets a long time ago. They've chosen not to do that. And now with 14 hours left, I'm looking at it from a person saying that they've got to go all the way now. They've got to try and get this over the line.
I mean, if they don't get it over the line, like Flex says, there might be some other plan. Yeah. Is it too harsh to say they're desperate for a centre-back?
I think desperate is a strong word, but if you look at the centre-back partnership that started against Bournemouth, Emil Kraft and Dan Burn, no disrespect to those two players, they're very good players in their own right, but that's not necessarily the centre-back partnership for a side that wants to challenge for top 4 places in the Premier League. Obviously, Fabian Schär comes back into that after he comes back from suspension, but it's clear that Newcastle need to bring in the centre-back. We know that Jamal Scales is injured until the end of the year. We know Sven Botman's injured until the end of the year as well. And so it's understandable why Mark Guehi was a primary interest for Newcastle. Difficulty is he's been a consummate professional for Crystal Palace, hasn't really agitated, and that makes it difficult to get deals done, right? But we've still got time left, and I think the Newcastle are a side that have got ambition. Ostensibly, they're the richest club in the world. Just because of PSR regulations, they can't spend that money like they'd love to. But they do need reinforcements in that area because it's a position of weakness, and with 14 hours to go in the transfer window, if they don't improve in that area, then they'll be left vulnerable. This is a side with no European football, so it's a great run at getting Champions League football. They want to return to that competition, and I feel like they need to bring a centre-back to do that.
I don't want to say they're desperate for a centre-half, but I think Pete might be taking his boots on Sunday, potentially. The options are so thin at the moment.
But, I mean, when you look at the centre-backs that are out there, I mean, there's one glaringly obvious one that's not Mark Guehi, but Trevor Chalobah. Like, he's at Chelsea. He's one of the players that Enzo Maresca has said isn't part of his plans. He didn't get taken on the pre-season tour. He's been very, very good for Chelsea when he's played, Dan. Are you surprised that, I mean, maybe if this Guehi deal doesn't go through, they might opt for him, but there's been real no talk about Chalobah this window.
Yeah, Stuttgart were linked in certain outlets yesterday. I'm shocked he hasn't gone anywhere yet. I think he's a very, very effective player, and unlike some of the other Chelsea players who are perhaps surplus that we only heard about recently, it was quite clear for a while that Chalobah was going to be looked to move on.
He would fit in at Newcastle.
Yeah, if you can't get Guehi, if you can do a last-minute loan for Chalobah, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I don't actually think there's a lot of difference between those two in terms of ability. Chalobah, of course, can play right back as well. There's rumours that Villa are in the market for a defender if they could do something like that isn't going to cost the earth as well. I would definitely not be adverse to seeing him rock up at Villa Park because of the fact he can play centre-back and right-back, two positions that maybe Villa are short at the moment. I just think Chalobah's too good a player and at such a good age, too good a player to just be kicking around not doing anything at Chelsea.
Out, yeah. I disagree. I think I love Trevor Chalobah. I think he's a great player, but I don't think that he's on the same level as Mark Guehi. Steve Parish came and
I'm not saying they're the same, but I don't think there's like a million miles apart.
I think there's a big difference. I think that when Steve Parish came on Sky Sports and talked about having to pay superstar money for Mark Guehi, he was right. This is a player that was arguably England's best player at the Euros. He's a player that has that composure, has that leadership, has shown the team like Crystal Palace, who have struggled in parts, they can come to the fore and play his best football. Trevor Chalobah has been blessed by playing for Chelsea, one of the biggest clubs in the country for the last 4 or 5 seasons. And so I do think Mark Guehi's a step up, and I do understand why Newcastle are interested in his services.
Don't you think that's just someone's done OK for England, and he did well in the summer, like when Harry Maguire off the back of a tournament. We did a feature early on in the window where players off the back of international tournaments move clubs and their fee gets inflated. Guehi is a very good defender. I'm not saying that, but the price point for him at the moment, with 2 years left on his contract, I think that's really, really high.
Yeah, it is. Will Mark Guehi go to Newcastle? Who knows? That would add to what's already been an incredible window. But what has been the deal of the window so far? Dan, I'm going to start with you.
Gundogan back to City for me. I think for a free transfer, a player that's still playing at the top of his game at his age, a player that was only at the club 12 months previously and won He got 12 honours, I think, at Manchester City and had just won the treble, captain the side. I think what I like about this one as well, obviously we're working in transfers, is that like we did shows for 3-4 weeks and there was no word of that at all. Then suddenly in the space of 48 hours, it was mentioned and done. I love that signing for City. Love seeing him back in a City shirt, and he may have a chance of being captain again at City when they get their committee together.
Yeah, absolutely. Flex, you've gone for another City player.
I haven't
You're
yet.
a Man United fan.
I know, it just shows I'm unbiased. It just shows I'm completely unbiased. I was thinking of Nkuba Minter as well at Brighton, but I've gone for Savinho because I just feel like he's almost like a Mahrez regen. You know, he just looks so comfortable on that right-hand side. He can play on the left-hand side as well. You've already had a taste of what he can bring. He's direct. He looks like he can take his opponent left or right, and he looks like he's going to fit seamlessly into that Manchester City side. And again, like Dan said, we were looking at Manchester City earlier on in the window saying, a little bit flat there. Do they need a few reinforcements? Gundogan back on a free, and now this guy.
And Kwaku?
Man United fans, if Flex hasn't got your back, I've got your back. Len Euro's my pick in terms of deal of the window. It was a lot of money, but he was courted or coveted by Real Madrid. Obviously, Manchester United had to pay a premium for a teenager. But to quote Harry Redknapp, I think he's a player who's going right to the very top.
Yeah, he is definitely one to watch. Right, what an hour it has been. The big story of the morning, and no doubt the entire day. Victor Osimhen's move to Chelsea is off. He is going to Saudi Arabia and Ahli and will have his medical today.
Yeah, big news there. And what will Arne Slot tell us about Liverpool and their transfer business? We know they've signed Chiesa, they've signed Mamardashvili, the goalkeeper, as well. We'll hear from him in that seat very, very soon indeed.